Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's a special 10-week anniversary episode of the podcast. I'd like to thank everyone who's taken times out of their lives to come on the show. Dustin, Case, Wayne, Lemmer, Rico, and Chuck. The rest of you guys are all dead to me. Our YouTube channel is growing. We're now up to 10 subscribers. Look out, PewDiePie. We got another great show for you today. I was able to get a last-minute guest, a first-timer for your listening enjoyment. Before we get into that, let's take a look at the standings. The top 5 teams seem to be locked into the playoffs at this point. Case, Lemmer, Rob, Chuck, and Minotti in some order. If any of them fell into the wild card race, they would have a pretty solid lead, so it would be tough to see one of them falling out. After that, though, it's 7 teams vying for one spot, with Brandon leading the way. He has a 2-point lead over Rico. Behind that, a 19-point lead over Swain. I am 30 points behind, Dustin 32 behind, Malensky 34 behind, and Kish still only 59 behind, so it's really anyone's game. The other race in the standings is to the bottom. We've got looks like pretty much a 3-man race to the Patriot Bowl. There is some chance Swain could be in it, but he's got a 2-game lead. I doubt that's going to happen. Brandon, Kish, and Dustin are all tied at 2-8, and they all have tough matchups this week. Dustin takes on Malensky, who has the highest projected total of the week, and Dustin's gonna have to do it without Russell Wilson or Golden Tate. Brandon takes on Minotti, who's been one of the hotter teams. Before last week, he had been one of the hotter teams. He's got Mahomes back, and Brandon's gonna have to do it without Barkley. Kish takes on Lemmer, who will be shorthanded without having Aaron Jones this week. Maybe this is where Kish makes his move out of the basement. Speaking of Kish, that takes us into our first matchup of the week. I took on Kish this week in the Brissett Bowl, which was not so much since Brissett and Engram both missed the game. For me, I beat Kish 157 to 123. For me, my stars came through this week. Adams and Gordon both scored over 20. Dalvin Cook chipped in 31. Trubisky rallied through 3 touchdowns, got me 19 points. The 3 touchdowns came in like a 10-minute span. It was like ended the first half, started the second half with 2 touchdowns. That was all he did. Robert Woods goes 0 catches in the first half, but finishes 7 for 95. Phillip Rivers was total garbage. You guys probably watched the Thursday night game. He should have thrown at least 5 interceptions. At the end of the game, instead of hitting Hunter Henry for 20-yard gains, he was just chucking the ball downfield into double coverage over and over again. I don't know what was going on there. I had to start Frank Gore, who did score a touchdown, then had it overturned. Great pickup. I picked up with Ted Ginn. 0 catches, got me a half point with 5 rushing yards. I heard someone talk about Ginn on a show early in the week that he had been a wide receiver 2 or better in half of his games with Drew Brees over the last 3 years, and I thought, okay, that's worth a stab with Chark on by. So I picked him up, and then later in the week, I heard it on another show talking about Ginn, and then Saturday morning, I heard it on Fantasy Football Weekly again talking about Ginn, and I was like, fuck, this is never going to work. But at that point, I was committed, and I was right, it didn't work. For Kish, he was shorthanded. Watson and Fournette were both on bye. Cooks is mush-brained. Who knows how long he's going to be out. And Evan Ingram was hurt. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel came through, though, for him. 39 combined points, one of their better games of the year. Sam Darnold chipped in with 21, got a rushing touchdown. Joe Mixon got him 19, but it took him 30 carries to do it. The Vikings seem to revert back to what they used to do, and Diggs only got 3 catches for 49 yards, even with no Thielen. And Kish's Steelers really let him down. Trey Edwards forced into action, only got 3.5 points, and Vance McDonald only 4 points. That puts Kish in 12th place, and I stay in 6th and out of the wild card, as we already talked about. Our next matchup, Lemmer takes on Rob in the closest matchup of the week. This was a devastating week for Rob. He loses a close one in overtime on Monday Night Football, 145.78 to 144.52, a difference of about 1.2 points. Lemmer moves up into second place, Rob to third. but it just gets worse for Rob. He loses that close matchup, then loses Devontae Freeman, loses Austin Hooper, had lost Matt Stafford before the game with a broken back. AJ Green is probably never coming back for him. It's a devastating week all around for Rob. Christian Kirk did get him 3 touchdowns versus Tampa Bay. I watched that game yesterday. He could not have been more wide open on any of those plays. I don't know what that is. Todd Gurley, 12 for 73, pretty good average, but just no catches, no touchdowns, doesn't do a whole lot. Jared Goff is really, really bad, gets him 6 points. It's funny, like, when Goff was a rookie, everyone was like, bust, bust, bust. Then he takes his team to the Super Bowl last year. It's like, no, Goff is great, Goff is great. Now he sucks again. Kind of was my whole point when everyone was crowning Baker Mayfield before in the offseason. Like, hey, how about we just fucking wait and see what happens? For Lemmer, Aaron Jones bounces back, gets 3 touchdowns and 93 yards, but didn't catch any passes. And it was funny, they were talking about MVS on a show I was listening to, and they were like, oh, but Aaron Jones just gets so many targets in the passing game. He got 0, and Jamal Williams either got 0 or 1. He didn't throw anything to the running backs. It's like they don't even watch the games. Steelers DST gets him 27 points. I actually have a feeling that they're going to be the Pats defense of the second half here. Nick Chubb, he gets his 20 carries, got 16 points. Some people worried that Kareem Hunt's going to take some work away from Chubb, and Hunt was really involved, but Chubb still got 20 carries and 4 targets. I don't know that that's any less than he was getting before, maybe a couple less carries, but nobody else in the league is getting that many. Funny, Lemmer had Brian Hillen get 14 points after Freeman and Ito Smith both get hurt. It was a hot waiver wire pickup in most leagues this week. Cooper Kupp gets 0, which is very unlikely. Jason Witten, 2 catches for 17 yards. Tight ends are really bad. Matt Ryan, only 182 points and 2 touchdowns in a low-scoring win versus the Saints. That was a weird game all around. Moving on to our next matchup, Swain beats Minotti 164 to 128. It was a big win for Swain. Picked up a lot of ground on the wild card. Bad loss for Mike. Swain into 9th place. Minotti falls to 5th. For Minotti, Mahomes was back, got 446 yards and 3 touchdowns for 35 points. Lamar Jackson did his thing, 33 points, lots of rushing. The Rams defense gets him 19. Minotti started MVS again, got him 0 again. That's 2 in a row. He scored 1.4 points over the last 3 weeks. Gotta wonder why he's still holding on to that guy. Ty Johnson, that's looking like a bad investment. Gets him only 2 for 9, and he's hurt. Singletary took a bit of a step back this week, got only 8 points in a matchup versus the Browns. It looked like Josh Allen and Frank Gore were both preferred at the goal line. Big news, though, for Mike was Tyler Lockett got hurt. He spent, it was like 2 nights in a row in the hospital. I read one place that he might need to get his leg amputated, but Dr. Chow said that was not the case. Which that would have been something. For Swain, Josh Allen got the mentioned 2 rushing touchdowns, got him 25 points versus the Browns. Amari Cooper still looking like one of the better picks in the draft, 11 for 147 and a touchdown. Derrick Henry also, this is breaking news on Austin Hooper, going to miss about a month. Even worse for Rob than I just said. And that is the same update again. Ronald Jones for Swain gets only 29 rushing yards, but 8 for 77 through the air. Did lose a crucial fumble at the end of the game, and Peyton Barber played the rest of the way. We'll see if that has an effect on Jones going forward, though he did look pretty good at times in that game. Darren Waller, only 7 points. He only has 1 game over 9 points since Week 5, but that was a 33-point game in Week 7, so you probably got to stick with Waller. Really been disappointing even without Sanu. Only 3 for 28. It's been a bad year for Ridley all around. Mark Ingram gets only 9 for 34, but a touchdown. Not really needed in the blowout of the Bengals, but it's got to be a little worrying that Lamar Miller is stealing so much of the rushing work. Moving on to our next matchup, Rico takes down Brandon, 155-112. It was a big week up for Rico. He picked up over 42 points in the wild card standings, moves into 7th place. Brandon, I think stays in 10th place. I think that's where he was last week. Rico gets 9 for 97 and a touchdown from Jarvis Landry in the Browns' big win. Mark Andrews, only 23 yards receiving, but 2 touchdowns. Baltimore defense plays a huge game, scores 27 against the Bengals. They look terrible. What are the odds the Bengals beat the Browns one of these 2 weeks they play, though? Baker throws no interceptions and 2 touchdowns for the Browns and for Rico. That was a good sign against the Bills defense that had been pretty good. He did make some really bad throws. There were a couple balls in there that could have been picked, but they were not. Concerning for Rico, though, is that David Johnson scores only 1 point. He looked slow. I think he had a fumble. It was a bad game for David Johnson. I don't know how you can start him until you see something, especially they've been good with all the Drake. I don't know when Edmonds is coming back. Hopefully for Rico, Hilton comes back soon. Hopefully for me too, because hopefully Brissett's back soon and we get some points there. For Brandon, Jameis leads the way with 24 points. It was really a lone bright spot, even though he did his thing with throwing 2 more interceptions. But he did chip in 40 rushing yards and 358 through the air. Allen Robinson has a pretty good game for the Bears, and that offense is pretty bad. 6 for 86 for Robinson. Eckler gets the touchdown, but only 48 total yards on Thursday night, and what looked like a good matchup versus the Raiders. Terrell Williams, another stinker, 3 for 25. Julio Jones, in a surprise, well, I guess not surprising, he was facing Lattimore, gets 3 for 79. Most of that came on 1 long catch. Saquon Barkley gets 8 points, only 1 rushing yard. I saw he went for an MRI after the game, but it doesn't sound like he's hurt. They have a bye this week. O.J. Howard, it's interesting, gets 4 for 47 and a touchdown. Before I actually saw what he did, I had heard a couple of recap shows he's going to be hot on the waiver wire this week. You're lucky you waited on O.J. Howard. I was expecting to say oh man, he must have had a great game. Even though I watched a lot of that game, and I didn't remember noticing him, but that happens a lot when I'm flipping around, only flipping to teams when, my guys, I flip to the games where my guys are playing so I can see what they do. And I didn't really notice him at all. And it's because he only had 4 for 47 and a touchdown. It wasn't like it was a great game. If he didn't get in the end zone, 4 for 47 would have been nothing. I don't know. It was just, I thought that was odd. Well, not odd, it was expected, but I don't know. Yes, great story. Our next matchup, Case takes on Malinsky. Malinsky takes him down 123-111. Case holds on to first place, while Malinsky moves up to 8th. Case maybe gets his jinx from Chuck, calling him the favorite last week. Rodgers and Breeze combined for only 21 points. Keenan Allen has one of his best games, his best game since week 3, but only 16 points. Gallup gets 4 for 76 and a touchdown. He looks like a pretty good player. But Manny Sanders gets hurt, only 4 points, might miss a little time. Jamal Williams, like I said, he sucks, gets only 6 points. Gus Edwards, a desperation pickup and what looked like an easy matchup against the Bengals, only gets 1.7 points for Case in the defeat. For Malinsky, that's his 4th win in a row. No one on his team scored over 20 points. Ryan Tannehill, who got a couple of late touchdowns. Josh Jacobs gets 19. It was interesting. Well, I can't say it all the time. It was interesting. I'm watching that game Thursday night, and I'm thinking, this sucks for Malinsky. Jalen Richard is in there catching all these passes, probably not going to get back in the game. And then immediately, Josh Jacobs comes in and runs in a 12-yard touchdown. Zeke, was his worst game of the year versus Minnesota. They looked like they were really focused on stopping him. Juju, 3 catches for 44 yards. It's going to be... I'm interested. I'm interested to see what happens with him next year, where he goes in drafts. After being a late first, early second round pick this year, and actually in our league, in both my leagues, he was more like one of the most expensive players. With Ben back, do people just trust that he will be what we thought, or does he take it? I don't know. Or does he come at a bit of a discount? I would guess he ends up being like a late second to early third round pick. A year ahead, but. Malinsky also started Dion Lewis, who got him 0 points on 0 targets and 0 carries. And I don't know if it was on the podcast that never aired, but Dion Lewis is a guy I've liked the last 2 years, and he's been absolutely terrible. Our last matchup was a big one also Dustin took on Chuck. Chuck beat him 177-162 in a game that came down to Monday Night Football. Chuck moves up into 4th place, Dustin to 11th. For Chuck, Kyler Murray has a big game, scores 30 points. I predicted that a few weeks ago. He was going to have a big second half. Tyreek Hill gets 38 with Mahomes back. The San Fran defense got a touchdown late in that game. You guys probably were watching to seal it. They got 19 points. Marquise Brown got his best game since week 1, gets 19 points. Chuck still in the tight end wasteland, though. I praised his pickup of Herndon last week or the week before, and he's hurt and he's done, and you're not going to be using him. Gesicki gets only 4 points. The late pickup of Driscoll, probably what did it. He got him 19 points. He got a 6-yard catch in there. I don't know how that happened. I actually haven't watched that game because it was one that I had to watch live. I don't get the replay of that one. For Dustin, Dak leads the way, gets almost 400 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 30 points. Golden Tate has a big game, 4 for 95, got 2 touchdowns. Jermaine Crowder seems to be Darnold's favorite option. He gets 5 for 81, 19 points. Kelsey has a good game, 7 for 75 and a touchdown. Dustin picked up the wrong New York defense in that game against each other. Gets only 1 point from the Giants. I got 17 from the Jets. Kareem Hunt was involved, 7 for 44, chipped in 30 more on the ground. He was hitting the hole like a 19-year-old girl. Kamara was back for Dustin, got him 15 points, mostly in the second half. It looked like the Saints may have tried to see if they could win that game without using him too much. They went to Latavius early, who wasn't doing anything. In the second half, it was pass to Kamara. I think he'll be looking good going forward. Looking at how Dustin's injury is shaping up and how his team's playing, I actually think he's going to manage to stay out of the Patriot Bowl. I think that's a team you may not want to play going forward. That's it for our matchups. So we do have an interview we're about to do with your favorite Jeopardy champion, Matt Kish. I'm excited to have him on the show, my first ever celebrity. I hope you guys enjoy. Hey Kish, how's it going, man? I am so happy to have you on the show.
That's good.
Yeah, it is good. So let's just get into what everyone wants to know about first. Jeopardy. What was your experience like on Jeopardy? How would you describe it?
It's just 4 guys having a good time.
Oh, so that's good to know. So it wasn't like really high pressure or anything. It was, kind of a fun atmosphere. What do you think it means for the Hype League to have like a prestigious Jeopardy champion involved?
We're classing it up. We're here.
Yeah, I do like to think we're classing it up a bit. So you and I had a matchup this week, and at one point during the day it looked like you may have had it, but then I ended up taking you down in the end. How was that sitting for you?
It's going down like I just poured nails down my throat. But...
Yeah, I'm sure that was a disappointing loss for you. So you got Lemmer this week. You really kind of need to win it, and he's going to be without maybe his best player, Aaron Jones.
Sweet. That is sweet fucking nectar right there.
Do you have anything you want to ask Lemmer before the matchup this week?
How's the ass rolling there?
What do you think about potentially having to sing the national anthem this year, or next year at the draft?
Fuck that.
Yeah, that is a good attitude to have. But what if it does happen? If you do have to sing it, what are you gonna? Are you gonna practice? Do you have some kind of strategy that you're gonna use for the national anthem?
A delicious premium lager.
That's probably the best way to do it. You think that will help you get through the anthem and then, maybe give you a little momentum going into the auction next year?
When that beer is gone, we're downstairs, baby.
Well, that's a great attitude. How do you feel when there's, usually like a couple people, I won't name any names, but they always think like someone's trying to scam them or like the rules are unfair against them or, someone is trying to cheat them. What do you think about that?
No one's out to get you.
Right, of course. No one's out to get them. People, things just don't always go your way. So we've come to the part of the show where I've got to stop and take a little bathroom break. So if you need to do that, go for it.
I'll take a fucking piss right here.
Okay, man. I will I'll wait till after the show then. So if you do finish in last place, I'm sure that'll suck. Are you going to let it get you down?
We're living the good life. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's great. You got to stay positive. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, man. I wish we had a little more time for a longer interview. Maybe we can do another one later on in the year. Thanks a lot again. Matt Kish, everybody. Okay, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that interview. Thanks for listening to the show this week. Minotti once again bailed on his segment 2 weeks in a row after asking about it. So he wanted to give you guys a couple of his lock predictions or something. So I got 2 locks for you this week. First one, Miami Dolphins beat the Buffalo Bills. Go ahead and bet on that one. And number 2, the Cleveland Browns beat the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Main reason for that one is because I feel like the Steelers are going to slaughter the Browns. And I'm usually wrong about these kind of things. So mark it down. Dolphins win again. Browns win again. You give me a tip or something later. I'll talk to you guys next week. Good luck this weekend, and go Browns.